All right, I'd like to call to order the City of Brookhaven Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of August 21st, 2013. First item of note is I see that all board members are present, with the exception of Mr. Bolin, if we could note that. And our first order of business this evening is the approval of minutes. First, we've got the approval of the July 17th, 2013 Zoning Board of Appeals work session meeting minutes. Anyone have any comment or discussion about those?
I move that we accept them.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion to accept the minutes, and it's been seconded. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor of the approval of the July 17th Zoning Board of Appeals work session meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
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 All right. Approval is unanimous. Next item is the approval of the July 17th, 2013 Zoning Board of Appeals regular meeting minutes. Any comments or questions there?
I move that we approve them.
All right. We have a motion.
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the July 17th, 2013 Zoning Board of Appeals regular meeting minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And those are approved as well. I'd like to read the preamble for the Zoning Board of Appeals. This is the chairman's preamble, just so everyone understands what our purpose here is. The Zoning Board of Appeals is charged with the responsibility of granting variances to ordinance requirements after determining whether there exists an undue hardship upon an applicant if a variance is not granted. In determining whether or not to grant a variance, the board shall apply the criteria specified in section 27-916 of the zoning ordinance to the facts of each case. The board further hears applications where it is alleged that an administrative official erred in a final order, requirement, or decision based on or made in the enforcement of the zoning ordinance. The Zoning Board of Appeals does not create zoning, nor can it change zoning. The board has no authority to grant variances for use, density, or height. Matters brought before the Zoning Board of Appeals are to be concerned only with variances from development standards placed on property by the zoning ordinance. Final decisions of the Zoning Board of Appeals may be appealed by petitioning the Superior Court of DeKalb County within 30 days after the decision is rendered. All right. Do we have any organizational or procedural items to discuss this evening?
No,
Okay.
sir.
And this is listed under unfinished business.
That's a
typo.
software mistake. Apologize for that. It's actually new business.
All right. Well, we have no unfinished business, so our item of new business tonight is ZBA case 13-24, Kelsey and Stephen Schwalb and Brian Long with Meridian Geomatics. Variance to front setback from 56.88 feet to 44 feet, and a reduction in the stream buffer on the rear of the property from 75 feet to 35 feet. The property location is 3294 Woodrow Way, Brookhaven, Georgia. Can we get a staff report on that item?
Yes, sir. I'd like to also interject, if you don't mind. We didn't really go over the rules of the meeting with the time limit and the, that's okay, and the comment cards in the back of the room, if you'd like to mention that.
Okay. We have 10 minutes for the applicant to present their case and anyone else to speak on behalf of the case after the staff report. And then there will be 10 minutes after that for anyone who wants to speak in opposition to the variance. If there is a balance of time left by the applicant or anyone speaking in favor, after anyone speaking against the variance, then the balance of that time can be used by the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And if you intend on speaking, if you could fill out a comment card in the back of the room and bring it up here to the desk before you speak, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you indicated, this is case ZBA 1324. The property is located at 3924 Woodrow Way. The property owners are Kelsey and Stephen Schwab, and the applicant on their behalf is Brian Long with Meridian Geomatics LLC. The request is to reduce the front yard setback from 56.88 feet to 44 feet, and to reduce the stream buffer setback from 75 feet to 35 feet. The applicant seeks to construct a single-family home on the property located on Woodrow Way at 3924, and the applicant's requesting the variances as I previously indicated. The first 25 feet closest to the stream is a state water buffer, while the remaining 50 feet is a municipal buffer. The particular request for the stream buffer encroachment is not within that 25 feet state water buffer. The site indicates that the lot is 29,908 square feet in size. The proposed residential structure and total proposed impervious surface contain approximately 6,500 square feet, which is about 21% of the site. The R1 zoning on the site allows no more than 35% lot coverage, and the dimensional aspects appear to allow an additional approximate 3,900 square feet of impervious surface on the site not being utilized by the applicant. The property is abutted on both sides by existing single-family homes. The site slopes gently from the front yard until approximately the midpoint of the property, where it appears to be 10 feet lower and then begins to drop another 10 feet in closer proximity to the stream. There are no trees located in the buildable area of the site, and the rear of the property contains a tree line and riparian cover. It should be noted that in 2009, a demolition permit was issued by DeKalb County. There was previously an existing home on the site which has been removed. In analyzing this request for the two variances, the staff has divided the report into two sections. The first section relates to the setback variance request, and the second part of the report relates to the stream buffer request. We will stipulate to the staff report. I'm not going to read it word for word, but I am going to touch on some points that you all will need to consider, and you do have this package before you, and it has been made available to the public. The staff comments are that the resulting building envelope as a result of the topography to the rear, the stream buffer, and the position of the adjacent homes do not appear to be actions of the applicant. The requested variance to the average setback appears to be the minimum variance needed to afford relief. The curvature in the road and the configuration of the front elevation appear to take adjoining homes into consideration. To the north of this particular property, the home is situated $56.4 feet from the property line on the front. And in this particular location, the applicant will be situated about 44 feet, or proposed to be located 44 feet from the property line. The home to the south is located 57.3 feet from the property line. And in this particular case, the proposed home is located approximately 59 feet at that point. Granting the average setback variance will not be materially detrimental or injurious to the surrounding properties or to the zoning district. As previously stated, in regard to the resulting building envelope as a result of the topography and to the rear, the stream buffer, and the position of the adjacent homes, it does not appear to be actions of the applicant. Strict applications of the average setback may cause unnecessary hardship. The requested average setback variance supports a use that is consistent with the terms of the comprehensive plan. In regard to the stream buffer, the applicant will address some criteria in their presentation relative to stream bank and soil stabilization, trapping of sediment and surface runoff, removal of nutrients, heavy metals, and pesticides from runoff, terrestrial habitat, food chain, and mitigation corridor, buffering of flood flows, and infiltration of surface runoff. He will address that in his report to you. There do appear to be topographic and stream challenges on the site that do not appear to have been created by the applicant. There may be other design configurations possible. The staff does not note that the maximum impervious lot coverage has been utilized, that it has not been utilized. The stream buffer variance has been requested in order to create a backyard play area. Given appropriate mitigation, Granting a variance to the stream buffer may not be detrimental to the public welfare or to the area. And we believe that the literal interpretation and strict application of Chapter 14 of the Land Development Code could cause a hardship if no alleviation to the stream buffer is granted. So the staff has recommended approval of both variances with two conditions. The first being approval in accordance with the site plan received July 11th, and that is for the average setback variance from 56.88 feet to 44 feet. And the second condition recommended by the staff is that the applicant and property owner be required to submit a proposed mitigation plan to be approved by the City of Brookhaven stormwater manager and city engineer prior to the issuance of any permit for land disturbing or any permit for building construction. The mitigation plan shall be designed to improve the quality of the stream and the associated buffer. The mitigation plan shall include a planning schedule, channel protection design, and an enhancement improvement. Purchase of appropriate stream buffer credits from an approved Georgia Stream Buffer Bank program may be utilized as part of the mitigation plan and shall only be authorized by the aforementioned qualified Brookhaven personnel. And the applicant has agreed to the recommended conditions by the staff. If you have any questions for me, I'll be glad to try to address them.
Okay.
So the first condition is basically a site plan specific to this building layout.
Yes, sir.
And the first condition, as it's laid out in our staff report, indicates the variance is from 56.33 to 44 feet. It's actually 56.88. Will that be corrected?
It's actually advertised for 56.88. The ad and the sign is 56.88, and yes, that will be corrected.
I think that would be corrected when someone makes a motion to accept those recommendations. They have to state that.
Oh.
So I think we
Yes.
could clarify it at that point
Yes.
for the record. Okay. Any other questions for Susan? All right. I think that's all we've got.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead and
Thank you.
let the applicant begin by speaking. All right.
Gentlemen.
Thank you.
Lady. How are you guys?
Good.
All right. Just to give you a little brief timeline on this, I think Susan mentioned it, but by the way, I'm Brian
I was
Long,
going to say,
Marine Geomatics. I own and operate a surveying company at Peachtree DeKalb Airport. Been there about 10 years. Yeah, that needs to be a little higher than. I met the Schwabs through a builder client of mine, and they're really good people. They bought this lot in 2012. The house had already been demolished in 2009. I thought it was a little, I don't think it was that old, but maybe. I actually have a picture of where the existing house was. It was submitted with the original variance, if you'd like to see it. The original house was 37 feet from the right-of-way. So we're actually proposing a house that's actually 7 feet farther away than the original. That's important to note, in my opinion. They obtained the services of an architect, Harrison Design, sometime shortly after, in April of 2013. They acquired my services to provide a survey and some civil site design and plan for their future dream home. Within your packet, you should see the architecture. Harrison Design is probably known as one of the best architectural design residential architects in Atlanta. They design high-end homes throughout most municipalities, and this is, as usual, a very good design. Once I received the architecture, I realized that if the Schwabs were going to have a backyard, they were going to need some variances. So we discussed several design scenarios and agreed that the variance request before you was in the best interest of their family. At first, I cautioned Kelsey about trying to get in the buffer, but she challenged me and wanted a backyard. She has young children. She wanted to build a playground and have somewhere for them to play. And of course, I always try to walk in another person's shoes. And in my opinion, this is we're not building any impervious in the buffer. The only reason the wall is there is to elevate the yard and make it usable.
We had a clock problem. It was set for 3 minutes, so we're resetting it. Thank
10
you.
minutes is not going by.
It's been 3.
But anyway, as I walk in another person's shoes, I always try to think about the property rights of the individual. And in this case, she wanted a backyard for her children to enjoy. And so she challenged me to request a variance for the stream buffer. And I think this is in accordance, as Susan said, with the stream buffer variance law. While I don't agree with the stream buffer variance law, I tend to agree with the Georgia State Constitution, which, for the record, I'm going to read to you. Paragraph 1 of the Georgia Constitution says, "Life, liberty, and property. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property except by due process of law." Paragraph 2, protection to person and property, equal protection. Protection to person and property is the paramount duty of government and shall be impartial and complete. No person shall be denied the equal protection of the law. And what I brought tonight is a picture, a Google picture, which I can share with you guys. But this kind of shows that every house in that neighborhood has a backyard that every person in that neighborhood gets to enjoy, and therefore the Schwabs certainly should not be denied equal protection of the backyard. So, I know that this issue is going to come up more in this city. I live here. I've worked here. You guys are going to be facing more of these property rights decisions, particularly because the government, the federal, the state, and the local, have decided to give the rights of people to inanimate objects, creeks, trees, etc. So I wanted to say this, not because I'm just defending the Schwabs as their applicant, but also in favor of property rights. And I hope that you guys, I have more to say, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
And rest of my time.
All right. All right, is there anyone else here that would like to speak in favor of the application? Okay. I believe the applicant has, 4 minutes and 15 seconds roughly then? Okay. We'll go ahead and reserve that. And if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward.
I have one speaker card.
Okay.
Ken Benson.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Ken Benson, live in 3302 Woodrow Way, the house next door. I'm trying to think if it's north or south on that map, but it's next door.
It's on
Obviously,
the top or the bottom?
It's on the north.
on the top, so
On the
north.
side.
Okay. I've been there since '99. I renovated the house, my house, '99. Obviously, they're in the neighborhood in Brittany, great neighborhood. A lot of change, which has been good. A lot of renovation, a lot of new construction. Right now, it's kind of neat around our curve where we are on that street, Woodrow, that when you look out in the front porch, you can see everyone's front porch. I can look down, literally see 5 front porches, and my kids look out and see who's hanging out and who's there. So it's kind of nice to see that to the left as well, but preferably to the right, and that's where that house is, to the right. And obviously 12 feet up, we marked it the other day, my kids and I kind of walked a lot and kind of marked where 12 feet was. 12 feet doesn't say a lot to people that don't really know it, but 12 feet means our house is set back further, and suddenly now we don't see down the street. We have no, I look around the curve there, so it kind of blocks our view. We have a view straight ahead and really nothing to the right. And And then obviously the character of the neighborhood, I bought there many years ago, and a lot of people have said have come in since, big new generations have come in, and that's the whole thing, is the character has been there, and the character's been set. And for us, if something starts getting closer and closer to the street, I think does change or affect, in a negative way, the character. And most of us have great front yards and good enough size where kids to play. And obviously, I think that will just change over time, getting closer and closer to the street. As far as the rear buffer for the stream, I have no opposition to that. It's just really the front buffer looking at it. So, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to the application?
Do I have to be a homeowner to speak?
No.
The house is in my husband's name.
No. You can speak.
You just have to fill out a card,
Oh.
so we know who you are.
Okay,
All right.
hold it.
Thank you, sorry.
Serve a rush job here.
Okay.
Hey, I'm Pat Mably, and my husband Jack and I just bought into Brittany about a year ago, although we've been in Brookhaven since '78, and we've been waiting and waiting and waiting to find the right place in Brookhaven, and are delighted to do so, but we've been watching Brittany neighborhood for a long time, and one of the beauties of it is the extensive and expansive and uniform front yards. Mr. Long? Again, I just need one of the things that he brought up was that the other house was only 35 feet from the front. 37. 37. And what was the square footage of that house versus the square footage of the house that's going to be put up?
The old surveyor doesn't say.
I presume it was the other one that was 35 feet from the street was probably a small brick ranch house, as many of them are, and I presume that the one that's going up is going to be a magnificent dream house for Stacy. The other thing is that he made a statement that you said that, that everybody has a wonderful backyard. That's just simply not true. Maybe the Google map shows that, but there's a lot of houses that a friend of mine lived there for 20 years on Rennes Way, and his backyard was completely unusable because it drops off steeply. So not everybody has this glorious backyard where we're all just having a great time. And I also have walked the property and walked back down there, and I don't know where she thinks she's gonna get a backyard because it drops steeply from where the house would be. And so that suggests to me that there would be infill, that dirt would be brought in to make her backyard. And I thought that DeKalb County didn't allow that, although they were like fast and furious doing it in the previous years. But it just suggests to me, the lay of the land, the topography suggests to me that she's not going to have the backyard of her dreams because it doesn't work. Anyway, that's it. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much.
There's still time, Richard?
Yes, sir.
I was there before the other house was knocked down. Obviously, I don't know, proof that it was 37 feet, I'd love to see that. At the time, I think that the zoning ordinance is R100 is 40-foot setback. So I don't know how that broke the precedent back then. And secondly, they did add on a garage at one point that was a little bit forward. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, I'd love to see that. But obviously, the size is important. And once again, I think what we can see when we measured the other day, just once again, my children and I, that does impact it. Obviously, they look down and see who's there, who's out playing, who's in the front porch. And once again, it's about the character of the neighborhood. And once you set a precedent, as you know, it starts really changing. So thank you.
Okay. All right, is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to the application? All right, seeing that there's not, I believe we have 4 minutes left and 15 seconds. Would you like to respond, Mr. Long?
Sure. I have a copy of the old survey. I can give a copy to all of you if you'd like.
I think it's on the
They have a
overhead,
copy.
too.
There was one in
Yeah.
our packet,
We have it.
too.
Yeah.
Well, the old survey, I mean.
It's in our packet.
It's in there? Okay, good. The surveyor was kind enough to give the dimension. I guess if you guys have any questions, I think that's the only rebuttal I have is that, like I said, the existing house was 37 feet. Zoning for an R100 lot is 35. I don't think we're unduly messing with the character of the neighborhood.
Okay.
Any questions?
We'll get to that in just a second. All right.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. All right, we will go ahead and close the public comment section of the case and go ahead and open it up to the board for discussion. Anyone have any comments?
The new landowners were not the previous landowners, correct?
Correct. You acquired the property in 2012? Okay.
according to tax records.
Okay.
I mean, I guess my question is it possible to change the structure of the home so that it isn't, just that one aspect of the house isn't protruding 12 feet in front and blocking the neighbor's view?
I guess that would be a question for the applicant or the owner.
They employed Harrison Design to do the architecture. To redesign the architecture probably cost $5-10 grand for redesign.
Would you be willing to work with the neighbors who have some concerns about that? To come up with the structure that would make everyone closer to happier, a little happier about it?
I guess.
Please speak.
Yeah.
Come on up.
Come on up, sir.
So I guess what does that mean? We're always willing to do whatever it takes to find a compromise. I'm all for that, absolutely.
Right, well, I mean, I think.
That's the last thing we want is to have a bunch of happy neighbors.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's, you know, and I don't think any of us want that in the neighborhood. So when we have situations like this, sometimes we, you know, suggest, you know, sitting down and see if there's a way to come to a happy medium so that he and his family can, you know, continue to proceed in life as they have in their home and not be obstructed in their happiness.
So I guess the question is when we're talking about that, is more a matter of how far back or how far up?
You know, maybe just having a conversation to see, you know, if he has any thoughts on what would be more amenable to him.
Right,
What do
we do have the ability to amend we can reduce the setback, or I guess the amount of the requested variance. We can't add on to above what's been advertised, but we could reduce it if you, you know, and I'd be happy to take a 5-minute recess if you wanted to speak to your future next door neighbor about.
Have you had any discussions with him prior to?
No, we haven't.
Okay. You think that would be something that would be agreeable? If y'all maybe talk, I mean, because I guess I'll throw a little personal commentary in here. You're seeking 2 variances and the controversial one no one's objected to. Let's just call it what it is. And I know the idea of the retaining wall and everything is to create more backyard, but if there's possibly a way to, and I'm not sure what portion of the house that is that juts out there on the top corner there. But if there was a way to possibly shorten that back or just slide the whole house back
Slide the house back
a few feet, but
That's an office bedroom.
okay.
Here it
Would
is.
anybody like to make a motion to take a 5-minute recess?
I have a quick question for Mr. Benson, if I could.
Okay.
Some members have noted that there's a stand of trees between your house and the proposed house. Could you show us on this diagram where those trees are, please?
They're not trees, they're bushes.
Oh, okay.
They're not mine. Some are mine, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, just help us with what's the vegetative buffer.
The hedges are up there. Right here, all that stuff was their stuff, it was over in our yard, so we cut everything back. So we now see everything we used to see. And then I have trees back in here. Where my house starts, there are trees back on this side for privacy between the houses.
So no trees from the front of your house?
Now,
forward.
there's one tree here, and then some, not Leland's, but one of those border bushes, and then the rest of it, no trees up there. Just
I'm talking about trees on your yard as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah. And those trees were here, they're not trees, they're a bush that overgrew, and I cut them back just because we couldn't, they were coming back in my kid's basketball.
Okay.
Have
Mr.
you
Benson?
seen these plans?
I'm not saying anything.
Would you be interested in talking to the applicant
Sure,
for a minute?
no problem.
If we took so if anybody wanted to make.
Can I make one comment
Sure.
on the stream behind us?
Sure.
Okay. I don't know if you know this, but we have Luna Park behind us. And Luna Park had changed their storm sewers a few years ago, and DeKalb County okayed that, which was not really a good thing to do because that is a state blue line, I think. And what happened was all the storm sewers on our side of Luna Park now come to that, there's a spot they built in a huge retaining area underground, and now it flows into the creek. So that creek now is getting worn away dramatically because instead of water getting there over a day, it gets there instantly as soon as it rains. And so obviously where he is and where I am, all that creek's been widening deeper and it gets deeper and deeper. And when the county addressed it with the county said, we don't care, it's a state blue line. They were going to do the entire Luna Park area. We stopped them from doing that initially, and then they got additional monies and they kept it our side. So that creek has really been impacted dramatically for FYI, and they said it's a state blue line, so the county did not care at the time. So that's
Okay.
seen a lot of wear and tear.
Okay. All right.
I move for a 5-minute recess.
Second?
All right. We have a motion and a second for a 5-minute recess. Any discussion?
For the parties to confer.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute recess. Anyone in the room that would like to speak to one another, please do. Let's go ahead and call the meeting back to order.
We compromised at 50.
50? Okay. So we're talking about reducing the front setback to 50 feet. Mr. Benson? Is that agreeable with you as well? Okay. All right. Any other questions or discussion for the board? Are there any motions from the board?
Well, I would just ask, to compromise at 50, I assume you're not changing the footprint of the house. Are you confident that you can push the house back?
Yeah, we're going to slide the house back.
Right, but are you confident that you can do so without encroaching on that rear property setback?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We're fine. Yeah. We'll
You could
loosen
twist
that
it a
yard.
little too, possibly. You could turn
Yeah.
it.
I mean, I'd love to see you back for another variance request, but, you know. I'll
Okay.
make sure that's being thought of.
This board member would like to move to accept ZBA 1324, application of Kelsey and Stephen Schwab and Brian Long of Meridian Geomatics to provide a variance to the front setback from 56.88 feet to 50.0 feet, and a reduction in the stream buffer on the rear of the property from 75 feet to 35 feet at the property located at 3294 Woodrow Way, Brookhaven, Georgia, subject to the conditions recommended by staff on page 11 of the packet. Number 1, approval of the front setback variance from 56.88 feet to 50 feet as depicted on the site plan with that modification to 50 feet. This condition being site plan specific. And condition number 2 as set forth in the packet, which I won't read.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Who was first? Corey.
I'll second Corey's second.
Okay.
There's a third.
Mr. Self has seconded the motion, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? All right, so no discussion. Do I need to reread that entire? Okay. So we have a motion and a second on the floor that everyone understands. All those in favor of the variance with the modifications, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the variance passes unanimously. All right, and seeing as how we have no other business this evening, I'd like to go ahead and adjourn the meeting and thank everyone for coming out.